So I guess let's just go with the flow. Welcome everyone listening to this very first, I would say almost beta testing podcast I am doing. I am lucky enough to be joined by two major content creators when it comes to the Moko scene. I guess we kind of have like four big names, which are Expectation, Heisenberg, GazTommo, and Lowercase. So yeah, lucky enough to have half of them with me. Um, on the left side of my Discord UI, so GazTommo, which I think you are the biggest Moko YouTuber to this date. Welcome.
Yo, thanks for having me for this first podcast.
And on the right side of my UI is Lowercase, which I think can be easily considered as the biggest Moko streamer as well. So welcome as well, Lowercase.
Thanks for having me. I'm super stoked to be here.
And yeah, so if we're here, it's also for a big reason. I think you've been living under a rock if you haven't seen the news. The KPI number 9 has been released, which is, I think, one of the biggest that ever happened. And while it shows quite a few interesting points, I saw kind of doubts from the communities, and we're here to kind of talk about this whole thing.
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen the same thing on your side with both positives and negative
Yeah, on
feedbacks.
my side's a bit of a mixed bag, I think. Bit of a mixed bag on opinions on whether they're looking forward to this update or they're a bit concerned about it. But
Yeah,
I'm up
I've
for it.
seen my whole comment section is everything from this is like ruining the game to this is exactly what the game needs, and then a little bit of everything in between.
Okay, yeah. Well, let's maybe start with the first big news being goodbye chapters and welcome to seasons. So it's something that I guess people could have predicted. There are no more chapters and they're being replaced by season. What does that mean? That means we are having
Yeah.
a sort of I feel like a sort of pro stars version of the game with events that are happening now and then and that are time gated, I would also say. And
Yeah, they're getting rid of the chapters, and I think it's in the KPI, didn't it, that they want to go the seasons and then rotate the events inside these seasons, and they can do daily, weekly, and bi-weekly events.
mhm,
I, but we kind of have events now, don't we? Every week
yeah.
inside of Moko, and we're on chapters. So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to tie
I
in with the seasons.
I thought the same thing as well. I was a little thrown off with like it seems like there was such a big push for the frequency of rotating events, and I was like, it seems like to me we already have that, so I was a little confused. But I think in my opinion, it's a really really good change to have the worlds and rifts on rotation because like we've talked, you've probably seen them talk about, and you've heard other people talk about how it'll funnel more people
Yes.
into the same environment, so it'll help with matchmaking and just the it incentivizes you to be in that world of that rift if it's on a time rotation.
Yeah,
So I think it both incentivizes people to play and also will help with matchmaking a lot. So I think it's a good change, but I also am questioning exactly how the rotation's gonna go.
Yeah, same.
I
yeah,
think there could be some problems with that.
yeah. It's more is because from the way I read the KPI was they want to sort of add all these events and everything else into the seasons quite often. So it's more of a concern whether they can maintain that cadence of adding everything into the seasons weekly, the
Yeah.
24-hour events they mentioned, whether they can keep on top of that and sustain it. I don't know whether this is leading to the extended delay to chapter 3 so they can sort of maybe get 2 or 3 seasons ahead, more or less, in content, so it gives them
Hmm.
a bit more respite in maintaining that cadence. I don't know. That was just another concern of mine because in the KPI it says basically want to add these events and everything else, and 24-hour events, and I was just thinking, how big is the Moco team, and can they maintain it as well? Was another worry of mine.
Yeah, that was actually also a question of mine that I asked in there. Ask me anything. How big is a team to allow doing this? But I feel like all these, yeah, non-permanent events and maps that there's gonna be is more to just counter the problem of matchmaking and bots that probably a lot of people have complained about. But when you're like, I'm thinking more of the less casual players and more of the pro, you're gonna have your map every day and you do your jobs. That's gonna take like what, 30 minutes? And then
Yeah,
you're not allowed to play Worlds anymore because there's not really anything to do. And it's the same. If there's one rift, I do the rift. I don't know if it's a sub 2 or whatever. And once you're done, like I'm stuck. I just have to wait for another one, or
yeah. I mean,
it's
we got the KPI, and when I read through it first, because I sort of read through it and then made my video, and then I
Mhm.
sort of read through it again, and I was like, when I first read it, I was like, oh, I'm not sure about this, I'm not sure about that. But then the more I started reading it, the more I can see how everything was tying in together. And we got some information, obviously, regarding the big update and stuff, but we're still missing a lot of information
yes,
that
Right.
might tie it together. Do you know what I mean? So we're
I
just
agree with
guessing at a
that.
lot of things here.
I think though too, one thing that I wanted to say on that, it looks like if you look in the KPI in that picture that they've posted, like right under the buy
Yeah, there's
chapters,
a
hello
scroll bar.
seasons. Yes. So in my head, it's not going to be okay, well, there's only one world, and that's the only world that we can play for the next
Oh
two
yeah, I
weeks, and
really
there's
hope.
not enough. Obviously, I have the exact same amount of information that you do looking at this, but there's in my head, there's just no way that we won't have at least a few worlds to hop into. They'll have enough. Like, imagine the same amount of quests in a world that we have right now, but you have like three
Hmm.
worlds and you have a couple weeks to complete that. You know, like that. I mean, that's going to be a lot of like the world projects that we have. Like that's plenty of grindable material,
Oh,
and you give us
definitely.
2 weeks, and then you put in new worlds and new mobs along with rifts and special events. I think if you do it correctly, you can keep a player busy and have it still be fun.
But now I guess comes the question: how busy do you want to keep the player? Because you're gonna have the casuals that can only play, I don't know, an hour per week sometimes, or at least an hour per day, and then the people that play 6 hours a day. And what do you do then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
No,
I was thinking the exact same,
But
yeah,
because
Kairos in his video recently mentioned basically the same thing of FOMO and just
mhm,
like how much of this, like fear of missing out, like how much of this can be strictly time based. And if you miss it, you just miss it and you're out of luck. Like that feels really bad for a casual player.
yeah,
yeah, I
but
mean, unless they rotate some of these 24-hour events during a chapter, do you know what I mean? Everyone's
mhm.
just
Yeah.
assuming that, like in the KPI, that they said they'll have like a 24-hour event, for example. It doesn't mean they're just going to put it in there one time during the season,
Right.
Mhm.
unless they rotate them
Yeah,
down the
they're
line. Because
probably
like,
rotating. I'm expecting them to be rotating.
yeah, and that image that you guys are on about there, um, like it's like for example, it says infested forest 5 jobs. Maybe we're just not going to be locked to that world for that day. Do you know what I mean? Maybe we've got access to all the worlds, but that event is just specifically for infested
Oh
forest. I
yeah.
don't, I don't know if it makes, because
Yeah.
like I was saying, we haven't got a lot of we have got a lot of info on the KPI, but we're still missing a lot of info. So we're trying to
Right.
connect the dots, I guess. So
Well, I guess also another good point of having only one or not so many worlds available is that by having fresh content every day or week, you're going to be able to do dev pools more and more and more often. Because we're here with chapters, once you're done with the world, you just barely ever come back to it. And so
yeah,
if you tell me that every day I can do my weekly or daily dev pool into this world to get my rewards, it's actually quite interesting. And it on the social end, I guess it's also much better because then you can sort of start getting into bigger groups because world's allowed to do that.
Yeah, I mean that is a good point. Like, I think it did say in the KPI as well. Like, as far as I could understand, correct me if I'm wrong, that everything's basically going to be unlocked from the update launch.
Yeah.
There's going to be no power progression, is there? So basically everything's going to be unlocked. But then again, you're going to need a lot of quests and activities to do in the game to drive you to these worlds. So you're not just staying on one world like HX is saying there. You've got some jobs, you just jump on a world, do them, and you just leave that world, and you maybe never like not go back on it for the next day or two because your daily jobs aren't on there. But they're going to need a lot of things to keep players engaged on all the worlds at all times, I guess.
Which is
Otherwise, you're
good.
just going to be facing the same problem again in this new update as we are now.
But do you think it's a good it's good or bad that we have to often come back to the same map to do our quests? Because I think it's a good change. It allows us to not like forget about the thing at all.
You mean it's a good change for the new update? Is it a good change for the new
Yeah.
update? Yeah, I think it's a good change. Yeah, yeah, I think
I,
it'll be
I
a
think
good
it's a good
change.
change as well, but I struggle to see like how it differs that much from what we have now, aside from just reducing the amount of worlds. Because we already have our daily jobs that send us back, even for a few minutes, but like we still get sent back into some earlier worlds, you know?
Yeah, but like
Well,
that's what we're saying though. But we'll go back. We'll go into the earlier worlds for our daily job, and it might be like kill 10 blowers, and you jump in, kill 10 blowers after a minute, and then you just leave the world. And then there's players on there that they've got their projects to do, and they're trying to do it and farm the projects to get the XP, but they can't get a death ball going to get through them projects because we're just jumping on the worlds, doing our daily jobs and leaving.
mhm.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I see what you're saying. So to just increase the amount of time that we're in those worlds.
Yeah, or maybe I don't know. Maybe like he was saying in the KPI, you know, but who knows what the like you say. There's a lot of blank spots missing.
Yeah, yeah,
They're just
man.
trying.
Maybe these jobs are actually so big that it takes a whole week even for non-casual players. So who knows?
Yeah, maybe so.
Because I guess unlike Rifts, where you kind of have to get a team going, the world part is more like, oh, I have 10 minutes of when I can play Moko. It's perfect for me to jump to this world and try to grind a bit just before I have to do this or that. So if you get this big quest that you can grind 10 minutes here and there every day, and that at the end of the week you manage to get it, I say honestly, I say why not?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, further down the KPI, it's like I know I'm sort of maybe getting ahead of schedule here, but I'll just quickly touch on it. It's about the classes, and you've got to
We're going to talk about that. Don't worry.
yeah. Well, you level up, don't you? And you basically level up your classes, but some of these quests for the classes might involve all the worlds.
Oh,
Maybe making the players be more
Right.
active on more of the worlds. You know what I mean? To level up your classes. So it might be something they implement.
I the only other thing that I want to say about seasons before we move on, if we're going to, is I'm a little worried, if I'm being selfish as a content creator, about everything being on a time schedule now, because how quickly will my videos become irrelevant if things are just here, if the whole game essentially is now things are only here for a short amount of time and then we rotate to fresh content. That's good for making the game feel fresh, but what about, a guide that I
yeah,
did
the
on how to
guides.
beat this rift that's absolutely not going to be in the game now for the next however long?
Yeah, honestly, I had the same thought. I had the same thought. This is why I said earlier that they might rotate some of the events or missions, if you will, inside of these
Right.
seasons. I'm kind of low key hoping they do in a way because for that reason, LC, I had the same thought as you.
Yeah, I think they will honestly do it because we also talked about the new players that could miss on content. That's really not something you want to have in the game. So I'm expecting these rotating rifts or worlds to come back very often. But at the same time, it could means less worlds and rifts if we are seeing them often. So don't know about that. But again, we talked about this scroll bar at the bottom of the screen, and feels like we're gonna have at least 9 to 10 different stuff to play on. So you could have a rift that comes in and then it stays for a good 3-4 weeks before it gets replaced, and there are other rifts that come in the meantime. Who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
and there was a little segment on the KPI, I think, as well, that said it's still all a work in progress.
Yes,
So
yes, we have to take that into account at all times.
Yeah.
Yes, sure. But yeah, okay. Well, I'm really happy about what we've talked going through seasons, and I think we can definitely transition to the next point, which is, since we don't have chapters anymore, that means we don't have resets, or at least we have way less resets. Meaning we are going into sort of a permanent game with, I would say, infinite progression. And now comes my question of infinite progression. That's insanely cool, but can the devs keep up?
yeah, this is something we mentioned right at the start of this, isn't it? Like, there's a lot of content to put out there, and like we mentioned with the seasons and stuff and the events and the tasking game, and they're rotating them that often. But like I said earlier, I think this is partly ties into the extended delay. Hopefully the team can work away and get a huge bank of content there. So when this new Moco rolls out, all the content's ready for game, but they're ahead of schedule, so it lets them keep on top. You know what I mean? So they've still got plenty of things to put inside the game. But that's what I'm hoping, because like it is a lot of work from what I can read on this KPI. So I'm just fingers crossed they can maintain it.
Yeah, I definitely think I have a decent amount of faith in them to bring a lot like this amount of content quickly, especially when I've just opened up Moco on my phone just to look. And in chapter 2 we saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How many riffs? What is this?
18,
12
I
riffs?
think.
18 riffs. Okay. And then the dojos, there's like 9 of those before you get into the, I mean, so if you think about it like that, with the amount that they just dump with these chapter resets, if you think about them taking like even just a third of that, and that's all they have to bring, even probably less than that, if they're going to be rotating them in and out.
Yeah.
So I mean, they've shown that they can produce a large amount of rifts,
Yes.
dojos, and worlds and new weapons, and that was only in 3 months. And I know that's a long time, but if you're moving it down to like 2 weeks, a couple hours, a month in between specific events or rifts or dojos or worlds or whatever it may be, but you only have to produce like 2 or 3. I think they could put a lot more quality into making sure they're, not that the worlds and dojos and rifts haven't been fun, but I think when you look at it from that perspective, like I think they could crank out a lot more and probably even spend more time making sure they're fun, the level design is good, the strategy is needed, especially with, and I know we're going to get into this as well, but with the classes,
Yeah.
I personally think it's going to make balance easier because you adjust like a whole class at a time. I don't know a better word, but you
Yeah,
adjust the whole
but
class
I
at a
see what you
time.
mean, but we're going to talk about that a bit later. I have kind of a counter argument as well.
Okay,
But
okay,
we'll talk
I'm
about it,
excited to
but
hear
I
it.
see what you
But
mean.
all that yapping to say, I think with the amount of content they have released at one time, if you look at it like that and think about how little they'll actually have to put out because of this new time system, um, I think I have full faith that they can do that.
And I guess regarding rewards, it's not that hard to do color variations, even though that's not really what the people want if they need
Yeah.
to add this to fill the gap. But where I was more looking into is that they're offering us this season thing, and so I'm feeling like this is where they want to go for a game that lasts for years. And now I'm like, okay, so in 3 years, people are going to be like, what, level 300? Is it still going to be 100,000 XP per level? Will it increase? And if it does increase, that means over 5, 6 8, 10 years, it will take ages to just get one level. Is that healthy? And then there's also this question of the rewards, because gaining level 300 then probably means a very cool reward, but you have to do even better for every new milestone above that. So can they manage this whole idea?
Yeah, but going back to lowercase's point first, like that's a fair point. That's like logically speaking, you're right in what you're saying, because I think you said in the KPI these seasons that the last 1 to 2 months. So like you're right in what you're saying with the amount of content they produced for chapter 1, chapter 2, but they were meant to technically be 3 months. So if you break down 1 to 2 months, like the content on that side should be manageable for the team, logically speaking, because they've done it in the past. So yeah, you're actually right there, LC. And going to HX's point there, is that the way they're going to do it with player levels? Is that set in stone? Because this is what I was thinking about as well. Like what are we playing towards?
Yeah.
What's like the end game going to be? It's one of the biggest issues we had chapter 1, chapter 2. And I was reading through the KPI and I was like, how will we display to other players, new players, everyone else, that we've played the game a lot? Obviously now it's our player level. But going forward, I couldn't really like find like a definite answer in the KPI that would illustrate that, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Are we
definitely.
gonna have player levels there? Like do we level up to level 1, level 2, level 3? And I don't know how it's going to be. I don't know.
I would assume. It's funny you say that. I literally expectation and I were talking right as the KPI was released, and I messaged him the exact same thing. I said, "What are we working towards? Like what like what is the progression? I guess." And if looking at the Hunter career track, we see that you're still unlocking the badge that we are currently used to, that golden or orangish
Ish.
kind of thing that we have right now. But it also looks like you see like the profile background. If you're looking at that picture in the KPI,
Yeah,
it looks like profiles are getting an overhaul and will be much more important, especially under um, that section a little bit further that has, it talks about meaningful leaderboards with the eyeball emoji. I
Oh, I see what you
think
mean.
there's going to be a big focus on leaderboards, and when you click into somebody's profile, there's going to be like insane customization. It's going to be like a real flex. Now, as far as showing that off in like when you're in a world, I would assume that's still going to be down to like your badge next to your name. But it looks to me like this hunter career track is like quote unquote player level, your progression, what you're working towards. Like it looks like you're trying to upgrade
Yeah,
yeah,
that.
it's your main objective through the whole game, I think, the hunter career track.
yeah. I
And
noticed that badge myself. But do you think we'll have our player level inside that badge? Do you think it'll be displayed like level 1, level 2, level 3,
uh,
like, just like it is now?
I have no idea. Probably, honestly.
That was my assumption.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I'm also really hyped when I see this hunter career track path. It raises, though, a few questions. The first one being, MMOs, when you're end game, that means you unlock end game content. But here, by saying that everyone has access to everything, no matter your level, it feels a bit weird then, because as a level 100, you would want to have access to a special level 100 event or something, And it
yeah,
would feel weird to see this level 1 player playing with you, but you're endgame and they're not, but there's no real endgame because it's only cosmetics. So how would that go? And I have another point, which is, since we don't have chapters anymore, that means we don't have elite passes anymore. So are they going to do a sort of one-time life paid pass to unlock a better hunter career track, or are they just gonna forget about the elite pass? Even though I have no clue how much money it raises, depending and compared to the other passes, but that was a way to raise money that they lost.
Yeah. So logically speaking, because it's a free-to-play game and they make the money through cosmetics, they'll undoubtedly have some sort of like pass. I would imagine inside the game that players can buy if they want. But like you say, I don't know how they will tie it in, because it would make sense to get rid of the Elite Hunter program. That you know what I mean. But I don't know how they're going to tie it into the new system if everything's on this career track kind of thing. I just don't know.
Yeah, I would assume there's like a season pass. Obviously, that's just
Oh yeah.
me yapping. I have no idea. That's just a guess. But one thing that I did want to comment on that you mentioned HX. This is probably gonna be a pretty hot take, and I will stand by it. You guys can flame me in the comments
Okay.
section. I am not a fan of the no power progression.
Okay.
I think the way they handled it in chapter 2 was not the greatest. A little buns of how long it took to unlock the new chapter 2 gadgets, weapons, passives. I remember kind
Mm-hmm.
of being frustrated starting my stream and streaming for like 6 hours and having like 2 new gadgets or 2 new passives, and that was it. At the same time, like you're saying, as a player that like has put in the time and has put in the hours, I want to be stronger than somebody that has just downloaded the game.
I
I
totally agree.
like having to farm to unlock my weapons. Like I was saying, I don't know that chapter 2 was the right cadence. I think there was a little too much delay in unlocking new things. But I want there to be an incentive to play the game and to unlock weapons. And I kind of I love the grind of MMOs. That's like my favorite part is the completionist, the grind, the like let me put in the work to unlock this.
Exactly.
And I totally understand the logic of the no power progression and wanting everybody to be on an even playing field. But like I also get like if you put in the work, you should be a little stronger. So I don't know. I've really mixed feelings about that change.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of the points in the KPI I was a bit taken back by. I was probably one of the points I wasn't happy with out the whole KPI. But like it's like you say, if someone's playing the game for 10 minutes a day and I'm playing for 3 hours a day, like why are we the same strength inside the game?
You
It's
just look
Yes.
better.
aye, it's just weird. But what I will say, remember from Clash Mini and when they announced the no movement change coming, and we were all like, "What? No movement change in Clash Mini? You can't do this. It's going to ruin the game." And then when the update dropped, everyone actually liked it, and
Yeah.
it was a W move. So
Can you give a
I
bit
always
of context? Because I actually didn't play much of Clash Mini. What do you mean by
yeah. So
no
Clash
movement?
yeah. So Clash Mini basically you were on what was called a battle board, and you had a deck. So you had
Mm-hmm.
your characters inside your deck, and what you do is each round you'd place your characters and move them around the board, and you place them in different places and try and counter your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And then one update, I can't remember which update it was, LC. That says right, we're not letting you move your units. Once you've placed them, you've placed them. They're locked in position till the end of the game. And we were
Oh,
all like, "That's crazy. That's a crazy update. You're gonna kill the game." But they went ahead with it, and then when they dropped, everyone actually loved it, and everyone was like,
Yeah.
"This is
and
actually a
why?
W change." It just made it more
It,
strategic.
It made it
yeah, way
more
more
strategic
strategic.
not to move them.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, because there was two. Imagine like playing a game of
Yeah,
chess,
it's kind of like
but in
chess,
between
exactly.
every single turn, you can just jumble up all of your pieces, and,
Oh,
and
you
so
adapt
it
way
basically
more.
just yeah, it ruins the strategy your opponent was trying to do to counter you, and so this way you could look at your opponent and know exactly where their players were, and counter that.
Okay.
yeah. So it just made for a more strategic game. But my point is, I'm trying to make is everyone was in uproar about this potential change coming to Clash Mini, and I think this might be one of one of the cases inside
Mm-hmm.
Moco where everyone's going to be in uproar. But when like I say, when the update dropped in Clash Mini, it was a W, and I'm just hoping and trusting the team like I always do. That them guys know what they're doing, so I do have full trust in them. I just hope they
I
can
will
tie it all.
say the saving grace to this is I am all about skill expression. As much as I lack that in Moko, I do like the fact that it is going to, like, certain rifts and certain dojos, because everybody has the exact same build, exact same strength. Getting a faster time or getting the clear or beating it is, or whatever it looks like, is 100% skill based. It is just, can you play well enough to do it?
Yeah.
I love that aspect. So if they can pull off enough of that strategy required,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it could be fine.
So regarding that point of having no power progression, I guess we're going to see how the team reacts with this. But you actually gave me an insane transition when talking about the skill expression that could be removed from the game, because I want to talk about the builds. We are saying actually
Yeah.
goodbye to the builds and welcome to something new called the classes. So essentially, from what I understood, a class is a set build that you cannot change. You have, I guess, a weapon, 3 passives, 3 gadgets. And this, I think, is the point that raised the most concern from the players, and especially the top players who see it as a lack or of removing skill from the game because you cannot get better than the others through your build.
Yeah, this is the other point in the KPI I wasn't so sold on when I first read it. For that reason, but they did say in the KPI that there is certain builds that require more skill and are harder to use. Arguably, they'll be harder to master, but the payoff will be better. That's the way it should be. But it's totally all dependent on how many classes they have, whether they add,
Yes, exactly.
like in my opinion, they need to add loads of new weapons, gadgets, and passives, and then obviously if they categorize them into like a tank class, they need obviously a lot of like tank weapons and gadgets and passives. Same for DPS, healer, and anything else they add to the game, and then obviously skill them in difficulty, like they say in the KPI. These ones are easy to use. This one's a bit more difficult to use, but this healer class is the hardest to use. But if you get it right, it's got a better payoff. And they did say that in the KPI, but how they're going to sort of pull it off, and whether they pull it off to a standard where the top players in Moko are happy, I don't know. But that's what it looks like it's going to be in the big update. Which, like, when I read it back and I thought about it, like, I've just been thinking about this KPI in my head since it dropped. And for every point I was upset about, I've started thinking about it, and I think, well, yeah, that could actually work, So I've started coming round to them, but
Yeah,
like you
if you
say,
see it
the skill,
differently.
the skill aspect is apparently dependent on these classes, like they said in the KPI.
Yeah, I will just say that I totally agree on you regarding the amount of classes. Because if you tell me that they're going to add 60, 80, 100 classes, then I don't think we're going to have a problem with the lack of diversity or build making within the game.
Yeah,
And also, now that you've pointed out your Clash Mini change where everyone was against it, and in the end it was actually a W move,
yep,
yeah, it gives me more hope regarding this classes thing.
yeah,
Although I think that having a sort of middle ground, because obviously it's insane for the new players. You don't even have to think about your builds. You know you have something that works quite okay. But for the top players, I mean, sometimes you want to cook, and that doesn't allow you to do so. And I think that if you, within a class, instead of having 3 set gadgets or passive, you have the choice of 3 from 5 or 3 from 6, 7, maybe not more, then you
yeah,
have a sort of building potential without really making builds too much of a mess for new players.
yeah, yeah. I get that. I mean, like it said in the KPI, it's not all this isn't final, so they might, they might have it that way. Who knows?
Yeah, One, going just so I will say and won't forget because we just talked about it. I would love for that to be a thing. Like you have kind of a pool of gadgets you get to pick from. I don't think they'll do it like that.
Oh,
Maybe they could do like what I think could be cool is everybody has like a predefined build. Like you don't have the ability to change your gadgets at all, and then once you hit like a certain level, maybe you get like one more gadget in that pool. So like if you have a tank, you can select these. I don't know. That seems complicated, but I just want the choice. But I want to say I totally get your point, HX, because two names in the Moco community that come to my mind are Andy the Lost ATL, and Inma. Both of them have
mhm.
posted
Dojo
a lot
guys.
of dojo guides, and their build creativity is just on another level. And I
Mhm.
remember specifically with Sewer King Nightmare,
Yes.
they both posted different builds that helped the community a lot. When there was one build that everybody was running and it was impossible and it was
Yeah,
so
quite
RNG.
RNG.
Not that,
Yes. Mhm.
yeah, not that the builds didn't make it that way, but it gave people more variety and just another way to do it. And I hope that they can still keep that aspect to some degree
Let us
inside
cook.
of yes, I was gonna say
Devs, let us cook.
even if it's not complete build control, but like this dojo can be beaten by like this class and this class and this class. But if you want to do it by this, you have to take this route. But if you want to do it
Oh,
this class, you have to play like that. Like I want it. If we don't get to change our builds, I at least want that to be, like there should still be some element of
yeah.
I can play
Yeah.
it the way that I want and be creative and express my skill this way. And I just really hope it's not like a cookie cutter, like if you unlock this dojo, you have to play this class. And
Mhm.
then when you get to this world, you have like every single player is going to be running spin sickle or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was actually a point I was going to say here about you, like you just said there, Elsie, about it when everyone gets to this point in the game, everyone's going to just play in the same class, and that's what I thought for the worlds. I just assumed most people for like world farm and things, everyone's going to be using more or less the same class. They're just going to be using the one which is probably the highest for DPS,
Yeah.
and that was a minor concern of mine.
But I guess that just goes back to how many classes they have in the game. Because if you have, you know, five different, AoE control builds,
That would be
I would
cool.
I would compare like Portal and Technofist and like an AoE speed shot bow.
Mhm.
All of those are semi-viable world farming. So, if you have similar builds, like you can make similar builds right now in Armoko that we know, but in this coming update, if they have enough classes that are like that can contest each other a little bit, um, we just obviously need a lot of variety to make it
And I also
Yeah,
wanted to
not
come
that way.
back to one point that you talked about lowercase, where you said it would be easier to balance all the items. And I do agree that if there are classes, it would be easier to balance. But on the other hand, when these classes are going to be released, if it's released without any choice, in the builds, the community will be lost for like a week or two trying to figure out the best thing. But once the best class for such thing has been found, it's going to be used by everyone. And I'm afraid that in order to balance that, you would need to nerf it, but then it would just be another new class that will come on top. And I feel like it's going to be everyone on the same class and not everyone being spread out on different things. And one last point before I give you the before I allow you to talk. Sorry. When I there's a small video that is showing. I don't know. I feel like it's like a type of overcharge ability from every single weapon or
Mm.
class. I saw in the video, for example, that the guy using toothpick is using spicy dagger. So now, if you tell me that the sort of tank class that has toothpick has spicy dagger, it's kind of weird because that's not how a tank is built. So I'm also afraid of how they would build the classes if we are not allowed to make some tweaks to them.
Yeah, I mean, that spicy dagger as we know it. For all we know, that's had a major rework for the new
I
update.
hope.
So it might do something completely different. Um, but that's like your point there, HX. You was saying like everyone's going to use. Obviously, after a week or two, the best players and things are going to determine what the best class is. And you're right in what you're saying. And once that's determined, everyone's just going to use that class if it's the best class, unless that, for example, if you go into a rift team of four, if someone picks one class, they've picked that class. Another team member's got to pick a different one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So you can't have multiple of the same class.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that's one way of eradicating that. And then another sort of way of helping dealing with that was I done a video on this as well. Is a completely different rift structure.
Could
Because
be.
like the rifts in Moko now, they're okay, but I think they just could be so much better.
Mm-hmm.
So if they restructured the riffs in certain ways, that would drive different classes, healer, DPS, tank. So people are going to want to run a variety of different classes and just
Yes.
go for the one that's the best. You know what I mean? So depends on what the team does in that aspect. I think.
I personally think like I mean, obviously, it's just going to come down to playtest. We just have to wait until we get this. But I think these special abilities from these classes is going to be the thing that makes um
Their
I guess I
identity.
guess it, I guess it could go either way, but yes, the identity, but also what makes it like not overpowered or overpowered for specific things.
Oh, I see.
Um, and I think this like this rift has a lot of little mobs, so I'm going to use the monster slugger because of that electric chain ability, whatever.
Yeah.
And like this, so I think if they can make those abilities what defines the weapon, um, that can have a really big effect on making sure that regardless of how strong a weapon is, that there will be use cases for all weapons and classes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, but for that to work, they need to revamp the reefs as well at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if you make rifts have more players, then there is less impact from a single build. So it
Yeah.
would not shift metas into one single class. But yeah, it all comes down back to we don't have enough information. Give us at least a rough idea of how many classes there would be. That would be already interesting. Because if we are around 20, I'm kind of skeptical. But if they actually tell us it's over 50, oh, then I'm listening.
Yeah, yeah. Like totally like I said, I wasn't so sold on the idea, but when I first started thinking about it, going over it in my head, I thought, this could work dependent on if there's a lot of available classes. If there's only a handful, it's going to be a bit of a problem. But if the team works hard and gets a lot of classes out there, different builds and things, I think it would be nice in the game, to be honest.
And it would give content for the infinite progression game they're trying to build as well. So
Yeah,
honestly, I don't know about you, but I don't mind if we start the game from nothing and that they tell us that at level 300 there is a new class, but it takes like 6 months to get there. As long as we have classes frequently enough, I don't mind knowing that we have content all the way till in 6, 12 months, 18 months, as long as we know it's there.
yeah, yeah. I totally agree with you. Yeah.
I'm glad you made that comment because that reminds me I'm gonna have another maybe hot take. I'm gonna be a little negative for negative Nancy for a
Go
second.
ahead.
I am also not a fan at all of everybody starting at the same spot. Um, I guess I understand the logic, but in the KPI they said that everybody, no matter of how much time you've invested in this game, we are all going to start at the same spot when this update comes, and that feels really unfair to me. Like,
But
I,
you
I
would
don't
have
know, man.
anyway with chapter
I
3,
don't
though.
like it.
You would have started
Do
anyway
what?
from scratch almost from at chapter 3. So we're used to resets. Yes, it's a much bigger reset because it's from 0 and scratch. But at the same time, as they say, there is no power progression, and I know you also don't like power progression. So I I see how both these
Well, yeah, no
disagreements
power
are linked.
progression, but we won't have like the new classes unlocked.
Oh, that's what you
Like,
mean. Okay. Mm-hmm.
and again, like I know I said earlier
Mm-hmm.
that I want to grind for, I want to have stuff to work for, but if it I don't know, I feel like there should be more of a compensation besides like Mo Gold.
Oh, they said
Yeah.
specific cosmetics. Yeah, I'm assuming if you reach X amount of hunters, elite hunter levels, you're gonna get this, and then mogul for every single bonus level or something. But yeah, I agree with you on that part. But at the same time, what would you answer to a new player saying, "Hey, it's not fair"? You just tell him like, "Yeah, unlucky, bro," or
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a tricky one. Yeah, I agree. I understand what you're saying, LC, because I like when I posted my video yesterday when I read over that part in the KPI, I was like the team needs to give a good compensation, and it's not so much about the reset; it's about the people who've played from the
no, yeah,
beginning and
definitely.
played
yes.
like for like the level like we're all at. We're all above level 100. It was the same in chapter 1, and we've put a lot of hours into the game. So it's more that side of things for me. But like they've got no choice, have they? Really, if they want to go ahead with this
Yeah.
update in the way they want to. But I totally get what you're saying because I did have a little moan about that in my video yesterday when I posted the KPI info.
And what if on your profile they just add a small patch that says chapter 1 elite level and chapter 2 elite level? Would that make you happier? Or is it
I,
purely on not being able to unlock the classes before the new players?
Gosh, don't put me on the spot. I don't know what would
No,
make
no.
me happy. No, I'm playing. I'm playing.
I would actually like that.
Uh, yeah, I was gonna say no. That might be pretty cool as well. I think as long as either maybe there's some nod to that, or maybe the compensation with Mo Gold is just like enough to get like all of the cosmetics for a little bit. Um,
Yeah, I have the same.
I would hate to stream this game for 4 or 5 months as long as I have consistently, grind as many hours that I've put into this game, and then chapter 3 drops and I'm at the same point as everybody else, and then they're like, oh yeah, by the way, here's 10 Mo Gold, have
And a
fun.
hat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, definitely. Yeah, we need some either a insane cosmetic or something more, I guess.
Yeah, I quite like that idea you just mentioned, HX, that we
Mhm.
have just like a little article on your profile saying like chapter 1, your level you reach, and chapter 2, your level you reach, just as a little piece of history.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm hitting level 200 this season.
Yeah. We'll see about that because I actually did the math, and if you grind all your XP and your elite 140 today, by the 31st of December, we'll be around elite 180.
Oh my
And yeah,
gosh.
the scaling hurts a lot, but let's see. Let's see about that.
Do you think we'll be able to do the nightmare if sub 2 minutes then?
Dude, I hope by this. I really hope. Um,
Oh my gosh.
but yeah, talking about this, leveling up to infinity because there's not going to be any update. This is the fourth point of this podcast that I want to mention. We will not have a big update in 2025. Very likely. They didn't say it's a sure no, but it's very likely. And so when I read this sign for the first time, the first question that came to my mind was, will the game survive? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a doozy, that one, because obviously like we're content creators and like we build our channel off posting content regularly, but now we're just going to essentially have a dead space on the channel for for 3 months. So on a personal note, it's going to be sort of difficult in that sense.
Yeah.
But for the sake of the game and the longevity of the game, it's only a small price to pay, I guess. But someone did make a nice comment on my Discord. I thought it was a really good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're not getting any major updates. Yeah, we've got to just do our best with Moko until update drops. But this person says, how about just changing the dojos, just putting loads of random monsters in it and resetting the time trials and doing something like that? Because surely that's obviously not a big update. I don't think that would be hard to do. You know what I mean? Just
Mm-hmm.
swapping
I
the
see.
monster out in the dojos,
I
just to
see.
give us something to do in the meantime.
Yeah.
There could be little things in the game like that they could just implement. That's just fun that we could just
Definitely.
do towards the end of this chapter. But I thought that was a good idea.
I think that's kind of, I know not exactly what you're saying, but I think Zhao was kind of hinting at something similar, just making these random little events to do, and like designing the rooms just to keep something coming.
Yeah,
Uh,
anything.
yeah. No, I definitely have the same sentiment. Not as a player, I'm really bummed, but as a
Yeah.
content creator, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a long time to just to have nothing. I will say, as putting that aside, as a player, um, man, and we talked about it a second ago. These Nightmare sub twos are freaking hard, dude. It's not easy. So I'm going to use this time. I would
You
love
have
to
time
end
now.
this
No
chapter
excuse.
with 0 projects. I joked about hitting 200, and I'm not gonna do that. But I think it would be fun. Like I know there's been no content, and I know Moko's quote unquote a dead game, but I took like a couple weeks off, and I'm really enjoying Moko again, and I'm having fun playing the rifts and trying to complete
Mm-hmm.
the world farming. And like, I mean, I have something to do at least for right now, but I know that a lot of players can't say that, and the ones that have already quit have no incentive to come back for multiple months, and it's hard knowing that this update probably won't bring a decent amount of those people back. It will bring a lot back, and it'll be really good for the game, I hope. But I do know that a lot of people have already quit, and the news we got was no update for the rest of this year,
But
and that's tough.
yeah, but
Yeah,
regarding the people quitting, I kind of want to say, who cares? Because there's going to be new people. In video games, talking from my experience, people just come and go. Yes, people start saying, "Oh, the game is dead," then they quit, and they probably never come back. But we have new heads, new faces every day, every week, every month, and it just recycles. And we are maybe the ones staying for the entirety. I don't really mind if there's new people, and the ones that think that the game is dead just leave. So that's your opinion. You do you. I do me.
yeah. Because in
I don't
like
know if that was
the grand
English.
scheme of things, it's not many players that in the grand scheme of things, the players that do quit the game now.
Yeah,
It isn't many players in the grand scheme of things. Like Joe says in the KPI, they haven't done a big push to market the game and things. So
Right.
when they do that, you'll just see floods of players coming.
I think it's really negligible. And coming back onto your point of having no content, or first of all, I didn't point it out, but there will be a small October update to have some sort of balance changes with mostly buffs. So I'm expecting either nerfed rift nerfs or rings or items buffs, which will make these last nightmare rifts more doable. I hope
Yeah,
so. And second of all, if the devs will not give us the content, I guess it's kind of a challenge for us as the community to create the content. And by that, I mean tournaments and other challenges like this. There are quite some going around. I don't know if you've been following them, but I'll try maybe to make them a bit more aware to bring more awareness from the public regarding this. Currently, MCR has two tournaments going on: one Rift, one Dojo. In the previous weeks, we had TFE having a dojo tournament. I know the Brazilian Discord also had one, and so I guess we have time. Maybe it's the perfect place to start doing these things and see where we can go. And if by doing these tournaments we are proving that it can be done and implemented into the game, maybe it will give the devs some inspiration.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of an Moco info channel, so I was like,
Oh, that's different.
I
Yeah.
don't, I'm running out of information to talk about. But I've already burned through my 4 backup videos. I've got some, like, I'm officially, like, sort of, I've got like 2 or 3 videos left in the bank before I'm scratching my head. So, but yeah, you're right. These like we had, like, again with Clash Mini, we had a big blank spot in Clash Mini, and we were the same back then. We were like, what we're going to do for content, and then everyone was doing tournaments and things and challenges, like you're saying, things like that. So these sort of potential there for that. I know LC is good for a challenge in Moko. He likes doing that sort
I
of
mean,
stuff. So
Expectation also has he also had his level 1 to 100 challenge. That was
yeah,
technically not doable in time purely through maths, but he still tried, and it really was something cool.
yeah. I thought that level 1 to 100 in 100 hours. I thought, is that? I don't think that's mathematically possible, but yeah, still had to go.
Yeah, it's cool to see the community come together for tournaments and stuff like that when there is not a lot of content. It just shows how much like we love the game.
It's the people that really care. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to say something. Oh yeah, because GazTommo, you were talking about the ideas you had in mind. If you manage, I don't know how feasible it is for you guys, but if you manage to have an interview with Joao,
Oh, as far as like content, you mean?
his views of the game, and oh yeah, so
Or
in
in
terms of
general.
content,
So yeah, see. Yeah. To be truthful,
no
I did
pressure.
ask Joe for an interview for a few weeks ago, like a month and a half, 2 months ago. I said, "Do you want to come on a channel for an interview?" So maybe the time's now, Joe. If you watch this, my friend.
Do it.
I don't know if he watches this. To be honest, I have no clue.
You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised how many
Okay.
the devs and things what to watch.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Well. So yes, it's sad, and I feel like it's gonna be long months. But yeah, in the end, if you tell me that we have 10 times the player count that we have, I guess I'll take it.
Yeah. You just got to
Yeah,
sit tight.
payoffs just got to be worth it.
Indeed. Yeah, and I think we can maybe start going into the last. Oh yeah, we can perfectly. I want to know, because we have covered a lot of points and there are even more points into the KPI. I would like to know for both of you. I will start with GazTommo. One major L, so one major con that you see about this whole KPI, and one major W, and why do you
Uh,
think it's them?
the L initially for me was the classes, like we talked about. Obviously, we're losing the build element of building our own builds and things, and we're going with pre-made classes. So that initially for me was the L when I read the KPI. But I do have hopes for that if it's done right. So I do think it can actually work. But off the bat, that was the initial L for me. The W is probably the seasons. I like the thought of, the touch on the seasons being 1 to 2 months long. So they're not going to feel monotonous and too long if they keep on top of it. So that's something I'm excited to get into when the update drops. Is these sort of short and hopefully more fast-paced seasons.
That was perfect, actually. What about you, lowercase?
I would maybe say my L is uh maybe the power progression,
Mm-hmm.
maybe and I have to probably explain this, but it might
You can. We
actually be the
actually have time, so
seasons.
you can.
And I know it's probably a crazy hot take to say that L is the seasons change. But I think it really has to be done right, because as long as there's always something to do is just what I'll say. I'm just worried that there's not going to be enough worlds or enough rifts, or like rifts and dojos are quite honestly my favorite part of Moko. I love the challenge of dojos and trying to get a faster time, and then the team skill requirement and rifts is probably my favorite part, absolute favorite part of Moko currently. I know a lot of people don't relate because of the lack of teammates. So hopefully this seasons will fix that as well by like narrowing down the rift selection. But I hope it's not narrowed down so much to the point where in like the first week I don't have any rifts left, and
Yeah.
I'm just waiting. Um, so again, a lot of this is just like we kind of have to wait and see. We don't have the information. But if it's done well, then my L is probably power progression. um, but my W, honestly, I think is going to be the classes. Kind of the opposite of Gaz here. We said W's and L's for seasons and classes.
That's
Total
perfect.
opposite.
That's content.
But
Now fight.
but
No, just
but
kidding.
I think kind of what I mentioned earlier. I think you have such a cool chance and ability to individualize each of these classes with its like little special ability. And even from that like 10-second clip of the classes that we already have, like I'm really really stoked for I think some of the like strategy and creativity that's going to come with like, oh, I beat this rift with the electrician and I just had like a massive electricity chain, and somebody's like, oh, well, I beat it with the speed shot and I just managed to route the mobs up and I had that like arrow rain thing. Like obviously I'm just seeing that little clip. I don't know what these things do, but I think there could be a really really cool aspect of using each class's special ability and just playing it differently. And if there's enough for variety and variation, I think classes could be absolutely sick. Again, it just has to be done well.
Yeah, that's like that. Like losing the option to build your own things. Like when I read it, like I said, that was my initial L. But like I did say, it does have the potential to be a massive W if they do it right. It all depends
Yeah.
if they implement it right.
Great. That's really great. I had initially a lot of L's, but after talking with you guys, you actually gave me so much hope. So I don't know if I'm
Cool.
delusional anymore or what,
Yeah.
but I guess my biggest L would still go for this. There is no major update in 2025 because chapter 2 started in June. So that means that meant a whole lot of content for June, and then July vacation, August we had nothing, September we have nothing. It's the end of September as the time we're recording this, and now they're telling us, oh wait, well, October, November, December is probably going to be the same thing. I'm like, "Ah, come on, I feel like maybe they released the game too early, and now, yeah, you got to deal with it. So
Yeah.
unlucky in some way, but even though I understand it takes time. I'm not a dev. I've never developed any video game whatsoever. But as a player, as someone that is interested into the game, I feel like, wow, we're making a more and more sacrifice in this. I hope this is the last one, because if by January 2026 they tell us that we have to wait another 6 months, at this point I don't know anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say that if they like obviously they're gonna overhaul the game by the looks of it, and if they do, and then they launch this update with this massive overhaul, and it's still in hot water, it still doesn't hit home. They
Mm.
could be struggling, I think. So fingers crossed they nail
Yep.
it.
And I would put my W for anything. I would put my W on one single image being the Hunter career track because I love permanent progression and having stuff to grind all the time. I'm such a fan of these mastery rewards they're implementing and having something to grind. And I'm even seeing into these screenshots that you unlock trackers. So that means even if you're maxed out, you can still grind the heck out of. I see monster hunted, damage done, and everything. So for me, that just means no matter what you do, even if you were doing a rift and you died and you failed, well, you got some work done because you got some damage, you got some kills. So you are always going a tiny bit further, and
Yeah, there's going to be
that's
some
just what I love about this.
serious flexing from the sweats, flexing their
I,
profile cards that have like 1 billion damage.
yeah. There's gonna be videos about how to farm a specific damage, and you're gonna see us cheese a JoJo for hours just to get this. I can already see that, but it's the type of stuff that I love, and I'm really excited about. And when it comes to the community, maybe we could all share what we think. But for me, I think the big L coming from the community is these classes because, well,
Yeah.
I think we talk with people that are not casuals, and so when they see that they're not allowed to have their own builds, it's really scary. But on the other hand, this is maybe the problem of this podcast. We don't really have the vision of a totally new player. We have experience, and so we have to really think as if we were new and starting the game. And maybe it's a big W to have these classes, but for the community, I think it's scary.
Yeah.
And the W coming from the community, I think it's a bunch of everything. I think it would be the seasons, from what I've read over Discords and everything. The fact that we don't have any reset anymore is probably what people are, what a lot of people like the most. But again, this W comes with a sort of L because people were like, "Oh damn, no more chapters. That's crazy. I'm going to be able to play and then take a break for a month if I want to, and don't care about this chapter because there's no more chapters." But at the same time, when I play, I can only play this rift so for like what 3 days and then it's gone, and I don't want to miss it, or I only have one rift to play, and once I'm done with it, what do I do? Nothing. So W and L at the same time, but it's promising, I would say.
Yeah, I definitely think it's promising, but there's just so much unknown currently.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would also be a major key point to not forget. It's only a KPI. Maybe there's going to be a KPI 10. Maybe there's going to be more shared by the team, and we hope that there is, because it looks interesting. And now I kind of want to say, okay, devs, cook something and show it to us. You've given us the hype. Now prove it's worth it, kind of.
Yeah, I think by what I've read in the KPI and things, that they're on top of it. They've got a solid plan, and I think they will cook, and I think we'll all be surprised when this update drops.
I hope. I really hope. Do you have any last word or thing to say? Because I think we went through everything, so I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah, I'm all good.
Yeah, I think I've said my piece.
Because if you have like, I don't know, 5 more minutes, there's one point that I kind of skipped that we went through, and maybe we could talk a bit more about it.
Sure.
Because it's one point that was raised from lowercase, and I actually don't have the answer. That's why I want to talk a bit more about it. This thing of power progression that is not anymore in the game, and the fact that as someone that put hours in the game, I want to at least feel more powerful than someone that just started. And I through this whole podcast, I was wondering, how could you do that? And I still don't have the answer. How could they allow everyone being at the same level, but at the same time, if I'm elite, if I'm level 100, I should feel more powerful than a level 1?
I think I don't know what the answer is to making you feel more powerful. But I think one way they could like potentially help is cosmetics, and I know that's not going to be the answer for a lot of people. But if there are like elite, rare, really cool, standout-ish cosmetics locked behind, the hardest rifts, the hardest dojos, the hardest quests that really require grinding and skill. That only like I like the idea of exclusive items, and not necessarily, solely through monetization. I think there should be, you know, the best players in the game
Yeah, through achievements or
get this
challenges.
outfit. Yeah, exactly. And so if you are a new player and you have your basic skin and you download the game and you hop into a world and then you see this like sick looking decorated, weapons even have skins, and you maybe have like a mount with a trail with a whatever it is, you clearly like look way more powerful. Like I think that could help with the vibes a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so what I think is obviously they've got rid of power progression and they're replacing it with, like you say there, LC, maybe skins and cosmetics, but also classes. I think because it said in the KPI you collect classes as you play. So obviously for the hardcore grindy players, the more they play, essentially from what I can understand is the more classes you unlock. And I'm guessing there may be scale in better classes the further into the game you play. And then for the more casual players, they're just going to unlock them super slow. So I think it kind of looks to me they're swapping power progression out with that kind of thing, sort of things you unlock moving into the classes.
Yeah, you've said it. Yeah, classes will
Yeah,
be
that's also true.
classes will be the content for endgame players that is not cosmetic based, I guess.
And maybe those could be slightly stronger, your stronger, more complex classes
I hope. Yeah.
Yeah,
are what you're unlocking.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's just like an initial thought of mine. But you've got to have something there because, like we said earlier in this podcast, that what's the end game? What you're playing for again?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to have meaningful things to unlock.
You've kind of answered. I'm really happy because now we have actually answered everything I wanted to go through. So
Cool.
thanks a lot, honestly. Now again, do you have any any last word? I guess not.
No, I'm all good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm good.
So thanks a lot for being here. If you guys did not already know lowercase and GazTommo, which I highly doubt, honestly, but just in case, you can find them both on YouTube and Twitch. GazTommo, recently I really liked your interviews with the voice of Luna, the voice of Draenor, and I'm pretty sure you got lots of more content coming up, especially with this KPI. And on the other hand, lowercase, I think you stream at least 3 times per week. I don't know
Yeah,
if you have an actual
at least.
schedule.
Yeah, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and alternating weekends at 10 p.m. CST.
Perfect. Exactly when I sleep. But yeah. Yeah, perfect. And for me, it's fully random, so don't expect anything. Um, yeah, I will also. So if you like this podcast, oh, thank you. Because honestly, I think it went really well for a first test. I will see. I will see how it looks like once it's actually uploaded. I'm also going to be recording another podcast with actual very very sweaty players. I'm not saying you guys are bad at the game, but I'm going to be with
No, I'm not.
people that really are into the game. We'll cover different topics. We're going to talk a bit more about chapter 1 and 2 and how the transition was made and the problems and so on. So stay tuned for this. Thank you for watching, guys. Thank you for being with me. GazTommo and lowercase, really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one.
Bye.